mystery
in our history.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Mystery in Our History podcast, where we take an in-depth look at all things urban legend and conspiracy theory related and how they came to be. I'm J.R. Supa. That's Chris Berry, a.k.a. Chris BOMG, Twitch, something, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. And
YouTube, Twitch, it doesn't matter.
Here
it's abandoned.
We go. All right, so Chris, you know when you're outside in this beautiful pandemic and you see a plane that like flies overhead and it leaves like a cloud behind it, right?
Of course.
Or if you've ever seen like the Blue Angels or, you know, the movie Top Gun. So that's, or like how, you know, when planes like right in the sky and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I've always wondered how those planes do that, because when you see like a 747, you know what I mean? Like a normal plane that you're going to take from like JFK to LAX, they don't have those clouds behind them.
No.
Right?
Yeah, they don't. They don't at all. So, yeah, that's just because, you know, they're not spraying poison in the air. And that's the big conspiracy here, right? The chemtrails.
Exactly.
I like seriously wish I had like a little bit more time this week to like look into this with you, because I know I've seen some pretty cool stuff out there that is just like, they're head scratchers. They make you go, But, you know, luckily for me, I do the podcast with Big Time MVP. That's you. And he carries my ass on very busy weeks.
Yeah,
so,
well, you know.
I appreciate it.
Well, so I started searching for what causes these poofs of cloud behind planes, and I'm going to tell you, Chris, what they are not.
Okay, enlighten me, please.
All right. They are not contrails or condensation trails. Those are streaks of condensed water vapor created by the air, by an airplane, or a rocket at high altitudes, because fossil fuel combustion, as in piston and jet engines, produce carbon dioxide and water vapor. At high altitudes, the air is very cold, and hot, humid air from the engine exhaust mixes with the colder surrounding air, causing the water vapor to condense into droplets or ice crystals that form visible clouds. The rate at which contrails dissipate is entirely dependent on weather conditions. And if the atmosphere is near saturation, the contrail may exist for some time. Conversely, if the atmosphere is dry, the contrail will dissipate rather quickly.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I don't know enough about science to really dispute anything you said. So, you know, I'll let you have it. However, I feel like that would be like the case for every plane, right? Not just a few.
Well, so that's what they're not, Chris.
Yeah, right.
So, right. Because according to many conspiracy theorists, they're actually chemtrails. That's right. That's right. Chemtrails.
Yeah.
Or chemical or biological agents left in the sky by high-flying aircraft, sprayed for obviously nefarious reasons, undisclosed to the general public. Now, believers in this conspiracy theory say that while normal contrails dissipate relatively quickly, contrails that linger must contain additional substances. That's right. Just another way the government is trying to control not just us, but the entire fucking planet. Yeah. So let's dive into this wonderfully well thought out conspiracy, shall we?
Sure. But I gotta say, kind of like Flat Earth, it sounds like you've already have your mindset that it's a load of, like just a giant crock of shit.
Oh, 100%. These people
fair.
are flat earthers in my brain.
See, I, on the other hand, I think the conspiracy does hold water, no pun intended, because you know the water vapor and the droplets of ice and crystals and you know holding water. Yeah, you know that's the fucking joke.
Just power through it, Chris.
I'm very tired. Holy
Listen,
water.
listen. The thought that, sorry, my THs are really fucked up because of this tooth that got pulled.
Oh, you look like a pirate.
Yeah, dude, it sucks. So
Give me your best R.
Arr.
I love it. Sorry, I
it's
needed
okay.
that.
The thought. I'm gonna try this one more time. I'll edit some of this out.
You better leave the R in
Oh,
there,
absolutely. The thought that the governments collectively throughout the entire country, or just our government, is actively poisoning or dropping chemicals to mind control the masses is insane.
Sure. I mean, listen, I don't disagree with the thought that it is something that's being dropped to control people's minds or to poison us.
Here's the funny thing, too, is like,
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of flat earthers are probably chemtrail believers as well.
Sure.
Like big time conspiracy. But if the earth isn't round, if it's flat and we live under a dome, then there is no atmosphere, right? Like that's how it works.
Right. There's the atmo layer, right?
Right. Like there's no atmosphere. So then how can chemtrails exist? That's, you know what? That's another day. We'll see what you know what? We'll write our friends at the Flat Earth Society and we'll see what they say when they get back to us.
Yeah, the cowards who always get back to us.
Correct. All right. Well, we already said what these chemtrails are believed to be. But how did this conspiracy theory get started? Did someone just look up at the sky and decide the government's out to poison us? Not quite.
Yeah, are you sure? Because that's like how 90% of conspiracies are born.
Well, so it's not quite, but
it's close.
Yeah. So the chemtrail conspiracy theories began to circulate after the United States Air Force published a 1996 report about weather modification. Following the report in the late 1990s, the Air Force was accused of, quote, spraying the U.S. population with mysterious substances from aircraft generating unusual contrail patterns. So that's where it was born. The theories were posted to the internet forums and were among many conspiracy theories popularized by the late-night radio host Art Bell, who we've mentioned on this podcast before, in 1999.
Art Bell, the absolute legend, the chat of conspiracies, the granddaddy of our show, if I may say.
I feel like he's more like the molesty uncle of our show.
Listen.
By the way, that's two molesty uncle references in a row, week to week.
Listen.
I'm going to take a week off of that.
How many weeks straight can we go?
Yeah, there you go. I'll just find molesty uncle in everything we do from here on out. All right. Well, a multi-agency response attempting to dispel the rumors was published in 2000 by the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or SNASA, because they don't exist, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. Many chemtrail believers interpreted agency fact sheets as further evidence of the existence of a government cover-up. Obviously. Duh. The EPA refreshed its posting in 2015, and this is the main problem with conspiracy theorists. Reason and logic don't matter. Science don't matter. The amount of times the conspiracy was proven to be true is far outweighed by the number of times science and facts, and I put proven in quotes, by the way, far outweigh the number of times science and facts have disproven them. Yet, hardcore conspiracy theorists aren't fazed by anything and stick to their guns.
Well, yeah, duh. I mean, come on. They're all working together to cover it up, right? You can't trust the facts. from these crooked administrations, right? It's just a bunch of liberal jargon, just a bunch of horse shit, right?
Horse hockey. It's a bunch
That's
of
right.
malarkey, as Joe Biden would say. That's a bunch of malarkey.
He just called the malarkey department
That's right.
to see.
It's the
if
no
this
malarkey
adds
tour,
up.
so we don't mess around with the malarkey. Let me tell you, people at home, no malarkey.
He called up and he said, "Listen here, fat. I need the rundown on what's going on."
The conspiracy theories.
Sorry.
It's okay. I love you. The conspiracy theories are seldom covered by the mainstream media, obviously.
Obviously.
Because the mainstream media is run by the government. Duh.
Duh.
If they were, then we wouldn't have a podcast.
That's fact.
Yep. And when they are, they're usually cast as an example of anti-government paranoia.
Hey, sidebar.
Yes.
So, and it's going to derail the whole thing here, but
Love it.
do you ever watch Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura?
Jesse the Body Ventura?
Yeah.
The former mayor of Minnesota? The
Yeah.
governor
The
of
former
Minnesota.
wrestler. Yep.
No.
He had his own Conspiracy Theory
I
TV
remember
show.
the show, but I never saw it.
Yeah. That shit was gold, son. It was, oh my God, dude. That man was and probably still is completely cuckoo.
He's 100% nutty.
And-
He's nuttier than a
Yeah.
squirrel's cheeks.
Yes. But that was some entertaining TV, dude. I mean, also, let's just think about it real quick logically, right?
Right.
It was on True TV,
That's amazing.
so it had to be truth, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't call it True TV if it was fake, JR. So
Well,
what do you say
technically,
about that?
True TV was TRU, not TRUE.
I guess I just got checkmated on that.
You're at least in check. You might want to
I-
rethink your strategy and
I
maybe move your
backed
king
myself
out of the
into
way.
a corner with that.
Yeah. Anywho, for example, here's an example.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
In 2013, right, when it was made public that the CIA, NASA, and NOAA intended to provide funds to the National Academy of Sciences to conduct research into methods to counteract global warming with geoengineering, an article in the International Business Times anticipated that, quote, the idea of any government agency looking at ways to control or manipulate the weather will be met with scrutiny and fears of malign conspiracies, end quote. Sick. And mentioned chemtrail conspiracy theories as an example.
So
It was a
That's
copy
it.
paste. I had to read it.
you had to read the sick.
Sick.
So I remember that because I've been dabbling in conspiracies for a while now. I remember this happening.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact argument, but they pretty much had something along the line. It was aluminum in the trails that attracted heat from the sun that made water vapor over seas to create rain or something. I don't know. I was way too lazy to look it up last night.
That's fair.
And so, if somebody knows the story, just let us know in the comments and berate me for my laziness too. Right? I deserve it.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Fuck
Absolutely.
you for having a full-time job. Anyway, various versions of the chemtrail conspiracy theory have been propagated via the internet and radio programs, a la Art Bell. There were websites dedicated to conspiracy theory, and it is particularly favored by far-right groups because it fits well with the deep suspicion of government.
Yeah. But, I mean, is the trust of the government solely a far-right thing, do you think?
I think deep distrust or deep suspicion is a far-right thing. I think the far left isn't necessarily suspicious of the government. It's more of like, let's change the government. Whereas the far right is like, the government is evil. And look at the Democrats. They're all pedophiles. And get them out. Drain the swamp. That sort of
That's
thing.
fair.
Right? Michelle Obama used to be a man. And their children aren't actually their children. And if you take a couple of very... what's the word I'm looking for? If you take a couple of letters out of their daughters' names, it spells I am Satan.
Ooh,
Yeah.
we're on to something here.
Yeah.
Why don't we have an
man.
episode about this?
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure we'll do Michelle Obama as a man at some point.
Listen, you better have some pretty good dick pics, all right?
We need. Oh, dude, some of the photoshops are hilarious, dude. Like straight out of. It's like a la Little Mermaid before they like
Oh,
digitally fixed it.
fuck,
Remember,
dude.
remember, End of the Little Mermaid when the priest had a boner?
Yeah.
It's literally
Absolutely.
they've done that. Like she's just in a dress and it's just a boner sticking out of the dress. Hilarious.
Oh, I love it. Now I gotta look this up after.
Yes. All right. So chemtrail conspiracy theorists often describe their experience as being akin to a religious conversion experience, a la flat earthers, when they wake up
Mhm.
and become aware
Mhm.
of chemtrails. The experience motivates them to advocacy of various forms. For example, they often attend events and conferences on geoengineering and have sent threats to academics working in the geoengineering field.
Well, yeah. You gotta show them the people are in charge, right? Yeah, walk in there and remind them that you pay their salaries and you demand to talk to the manager of geoengineering, right? That's how that works.
Chads and Karens. The chemtrail conspiracy theorists are just a bunch of Chads and Karens. Demand to
Where's the
speak to the manager of the geoengineering project.
Holy shit, dude.
I mean, all right. So these people seem pretty out there in the same
Yeah.
realm as flat earthers, as I've said. They're fucking stupid. But something has to give this theory legs other than just some report from 1996, right? So what is it?
Right. And like I'm dying to know because here's the thing for me is like this is one of the most I find, right? One of the most believed conspiracies. Like seemingly normal people that I know talk about this shit from time to time.
Yeah.
And so there has to be something that makes it dare I say it again, JR?
Hold water.
Hold water.
I hate you. It's the fucking joke. It's water. Water vapor.
Hold water. You're holding water.
Damn
I'm
right I
also
am,
holding
Chris.
water.
Anywho,
Let's have to be allowed.
let's talk about the Welsbach patent.
All right, you got my full attention. I'm just gonna let you kind of go into here and just kind of give me the rundown because
That's fair.
Yeah.
Because it's information. So I'm gonna
information.
mind dump all of this into you, and then we'll talk.
Please shit right into my brain.
Oh, here it comes, baby. Nice steamy deuce. In 1994, the Hughes Aerospace Company was issued a remarkable patent, the Welsbach patent for reduction of global warming, proposed countering global warming by dispensing microscopic particles of aluminum oxide, and other reflective materials into the upper atmosphere, like you mentioned before. This sky shield or laser beam. I'm sorry, my channeled my inner Dr. Evil. This sky shield would reflect 1 or 2% of incoming sunlight. The patent suggested that tiny metal flakes could be added to the fuel of jet airliners so that the particles could be emitted from the jet engine exhaust while the airliner was at its cruising altitude.
Okay, so I was somewhere close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Computer simulations by Ken Caldera at California's Lawrence Livermore National's Laboratory, or LLNL, calculated that employing Welsbach's chemical sunscreen technology could stop warming over 85% of the planet, despite an anticipated doubling of atmospheric carbon within the next 50 years. LLNL estimated the cost of creating this so-called sky shield at about $1 billion a year, which is really, globally, a cheap fix to avoid threatening the massive profits of the oil industry.
Sure.
Make big oil pay for it, right?
Yeah, of course.
We wanted a wall.
Right.
Mexico's paying for that. Am I right?
Yeah, we want a sky and make oil pay for it.
Exactly. At the 1998 International Seminar of Planetary Emergencies, Edward Teller, the father of the H-bomb, presented his next big idea. Teller called for spreading reflective chemicals over the Earth to act like a mirror shade. If it was impossible to protect the entire planet, these chemical sky shields could, at least, be extended to cover allies who secretly agreed to allow this unprecedented geoengineering experiment to be carried out over their territory. Pause for sip. In the July-August 1998 Science and Technology Review, Teller argued that the Sky Shield would offer more realistic option for addressing global warming than drastic cutbacks in CO2 emissions. When asked if the technology was being pursued, Teller replied, "To my knowledge, the answer is negative. My recommendation was a tentative one depending on further evidence whether expecting global warming is realistic." Now, before I continue, I just want to say this is also the premise for the movie WALL-E. Global warming was happening. They tried to combat it. They didn't combat it. Or no, what movie was it? Was it WALL-E? Where like they tried to combat global warming and then it got way too hot, way too cold, and so they had to redo it and it got way too hot or something. I don't remember. Oh no, it's Snowpiercer. That's what this is. This is the premise of Snowpiercer, not WALL-E.
I've never
I don't
seen
know.
that.
Snowpiercer was a book, and now it was a movie also with Chris Evans, and now it's a TV show. But essentially, global warming was a thing. They launched a bunch of shit into the atmosphere to try and fix it, and they went too far and chilled the entire Earth to an unlivable cold. So this one train was built, and it's perpetual motion. So as it moves, it charges itself, the engine and all the power systems and everything. So as long as it keeps moving, it's fine, and they just built it to last forever, and then they've been going around the world, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, really good, actually, concept and story and everything all the way around in all three forms of media distribution as well. Book was good,
Okay.
movie was pretty good, and the TV show is pretty good.
Okay. Cool.
But anyway, in fact, the technology already exists. Segue.
Wait, the train?
No, the technology for globe shield.
Yeah.
Globo shield. In 1975, the U.S. Navy patented a device for producing a powder contrail having maximum radiation scattering ability. The powder contained a mixture of 0.03 micron-sized titanium dioxide pigment particles collated with 0.007 micron hydrophobic colloidal silica and 4.5 micron particles of silica gel. The purpose of the apparatus was to, quote, generate contrails or reflective screens for any desired purpose. The Welsbach patent proposed using a very fine talcum-like powder of 10 to 100 micron-sized aluminum oxide to produce a pure white plume in the sky. Now, in May 2000, draft report submitted to the International Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, an expert panel chosen from among 3,000 atmospheric scientists concluded that Teller's scheme actually might work. That's right, might work.
It might.
But the IPCC warned against unpredictable upsets of the atmosphere, a la Snowpiercer. The panel also warned against angry populaces reacting to, quote, the associated whitening of the visual appearance of the sky. Because chemtrails leave a white cloud or a plume.
Yeah, sure.
Pause for sip.
Gotta let that whistle.
Yeah. Now, Caldera was so concerned that he went public. Deflecting sunlight would further cool the stratosphere, he warned, and this could intensify icy clouds of ozone gobbling CFCs. Gobbing. Gobbling CFCs that could destroy the ozone layer, the Earth's already damaged solar radiation shield. So essentially, he's saying this could just have the inverse effect of what you're trying to do, which is reflect the rays, but it could actually just damage the ozone layer and make it even hotter. So there's like two downsides to this one upside. When Teller's Sky Shield experiment, was Teller's Sky Shield experiment already underway? During his interview with WMWV reporters, Deep Sky hinted that it was. Were the tankers observed on ATC radars involved in climate modification? Our FAA source hesitated before responding, quote, that approximates what I was told. Similar military activities were ongoing in other regions, is what he stated.
Okay. So basically, there was. So I'm going to try to sum this up.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of info going on.
It's a big dump of info.
Yeah. So basically, there was a patent of, again, dumping aluminum into the sky, trying to reverse the effects of global warming, even
Correct.
though there was the potential of it reversing either way, either making it cooler, making it hotter.
But it was never greenlit, essentially.
Right. It was never greenlit.
The claim is that it was never
greenlit.
However, when Caldera went public, it was kind of like the push that the conspiracy theorists needed to say, "Oh shit, there it is."
Yeah, because he was pretty much saying it's not underway officially.
Right. Now, in addition to this patent, there are also chemtrails and their links to health problems, or suspected links to health problems.
Okay.
Ain't no proof, bitches. The internet buzzes with conspiracy theories about chemtrails being used as part of a secret government biological experiment. But after more than 3 years of intense investigation, there's no proof that chemtrails constitute a deliberate biological attack. To be effective, bioattacks must be conducted close to the ground and never in daylight in order to avoid ultraviolet sterilization of toxins.
Yeah, but okay, so my argument against that is it's technically not a biological attack. It would just be an experiment gone wrong, right?
Okay, fair.
Right.
Fair.
Right. So they're not going, okay, it's chemtrails. We're trying to hurt the people down on the ground. We're fucking with the atmosphere because we're worried about the globe getting too hot. Oh shit, we put too much aluminum in the sky.
All right.
It's affecting people's health.
Well, in the spring of 1998, rain falling through heavy chemtrails over Espanola, Ontario. Espanola. I don't know. It's in Ontario. It's Canada. It can't be Canada. Spanish. It was found to contain concentrations of aluminum particles 7 times higher than permitted by Canadian health safety laws. Provincial health officials ordered tests after residents began complaining about severe headaches, chronic joint pain, dizziness, sudden extreme fatigue, acute asthma attacks, and feverless flu-like symptoms. The result of the tests were never released.
That's it right there. Okay, so right there. That's how these theories start up, dude, right? Because okay, so going back a little bit and to just sit back and be like, well, chemtrails is just fighting global warming, and people who say it's a conspiracy are stupid. Hey, by the way, this place was sprayed down heavily in Ontario and everyone got sick. But if you think it's anything more than Project Sky Shield or whatever, you're just a right-wing nut job. You know what I mean? Does that make you kind of a little bit think something's up? Just a little bit?
Once again,
especially hiding
I can
the results.
Understand how one may come to suspect,
right,
or wonder. I can understand,
that's it. That's
you
all I need.
Wonder that this is happening, and okay, look at this. This makes me wonder. However, if you believe that the government is actively trying to hurt or control you through the atmosphere,
right? See, that's
give
where
me a break.
That's where I don't. That's where I disconnect from this.
If the chemtrail conspiracy was the government's doing experiments and they're trying to fix global warming in the cheapest way possible without hurting big oil, et cetera, and you know what? Some of these experiments are fucking people up.
Right.
I could retract my statement said previously that chemtrail conspiracy theorists are as stupid as flat earthers. However, because this theory revolves around, because this theory shoots upwards through space at an insane rate that causes gravity because the sun revolves around the Earth, that's why I can't get on board with it, because they're all fucking nutty.
That's fair. That's fair. That's just I'm not on the it's a mind control, element. I'm
Right.
not on a
because it's
on
it's
that
not
and
it's
trying to kill
about
you.
it's about the government trying to control us, trying to do
Right.
things to us, trying to
Right.
purposefully alter us and not the atmosphere. That's what
Right.
makes it not believable.
Right. See, that's where I sit. It's like they're clearly fucking with our ozone, our atmosphere, basically.
Yeah.
They're fucking with it, trying in good intention, but they're being so hush hush about it. And then when shit like this happens, where people are getting sick or
Right.
are falling ill,
Well, and I think
then they go, well, no one talked about it. Let's hide the results.
and the funny thing is that, like, if it was just about if it's about bad publicity, I get it, right? Like, we don't want to look bad because we fucked up. If we come out and we say, hey, we're going to try this experiment, we do this experiment, and then as the reports of illness came from residents inside a 50 square mile area who complained that they had been subject to months of spraying by photo-identified Air Force tanker planes, USAF has obviously denied the intrusions, right? So those people now are all affected after the government said, hey, we're going to try an experiment. Now, all of a sudden, the government's paying tons of money to these people, right? Like, they're owed reparations, and they look like a bunch of uneducated fucking douchebags, even though most science is trial and error.
Right. Well, exactly.
You know what I mean? But from a PR standpoint, you only get one shot, and if you fuck up, you're not going to be able to do this shit anymore, right? Before people start going, you know what, this is a bad idea. Let's look at other things. Right, shut it down.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, like, if people think that the government is just trying to hide this because they don't want to fucking pay out all these people, that's insane. The government literally prints money. Literally prints the money. So for them to go, oh, we don't want to pay out, that's stupid. It's stupid. Like,
gotta come from somewhere, though. They can print it. It's gotta come from somewhere, right?
Taxpayers. Actually, completely off topic, and I'm going to cut this part out. And we're back. So on November 18th, 1998, Canadian opposition party defense critic Gordon Earle.
Earle?
Earle? I'm going to go Gordon Earle. Petitioned Parliament on behalf of people in Espanola. Speaking on behalf of Canada's new Democratic Party, Earle stated, over 500 residents of the Espanola area have signed a petition raising concern over possible government involvement in what appears to be aircraft emitting visible aerosols. They have found high traces of aluminum and quartz in particulate and rainwater samples. These concerns, combined with associated respiratory ailments, have led these Canadians to take action and seek clear answers from this government. The petitioners call upon Parliament to repeal any law that would permit the dispersal of military chaff or any cloud-seeding substance whatsoever by domestic or foreign military aircraft without the informed consent of the citizens of Canada thus affected.
Yeah. Cool. Good luck. Governments usually take real well to being told no. So you really got them, guys. I'm sure they'll listen. I'm sure they'll just be like, oh shit.
Nothing. A Harvard School of Public Health team determined that the particulates with a diameter of less than 10 microns, 1/10 the thickness of a human hair, pose a serious threat to public health. On April 21st, 2001, the New York Times warned these microscopic motes are able to infiltrate the tiniest compartments in the lungs and pass readily into the bloodstream, and have been most strongly tied to illness and early death, particularly in people who are already susceptible to respiratory problems. Boy, this sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's something, huh?
So
I
let's
actually
just
didn't even make the connection last
let's
night.
just take this moment and connect COVID-19 to chemtrails. And now we know how COVID-19 is actually a scam-demic and not a pandemic. It's a chemtrail experiment gone wrong that they couldn't talk about, and so they had to make up a fucking virus.
Dude.
Ka-ching. You're welcome, everybody. We just solved the problem. Trump 2020.
That's it. Go outside. Go outside, spit in each other's mouths. You know, it's fine.
Yep. Trump 2020.
Bart Simpson 2020.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'd vote for him. Fuck it.
Yeah,
All right.
at this point.
On December 14th, 2000, the New England Journal of Medicine reported that inhaling particulate matter a size 10 microns or smaller leads to a 5% increased death rate within 24 hours. Teller's sunscreen calls for spraying 10 million tons of talcum fine reflective particulates of 10 to 100 micron sizes. So, next up is chemtrails going global.
Okay.
Because it's not just in America or Canada for that matter. Let's just call it North America.
North America. That's fine.
Mexico doesn't count. That's
We can
Central
settle on
America. Chemtrails go global, right? So sightings of oddly lingering plumes, sometimes resembling rocket trails, are not confined to North American skies. While on leave in Italy in the summer of 1999, the U.S. Navy's Kitty Chastain sat on her hotel balcony and watched aerial grids being laid out all day just offshore over the Bay of Naples. Naples. I know it's Naples. I like saying Naples. In Spain, on April 27th, 2000, American tourist John Hendricks dashed off a quick email from El Café de Internet, where we surprised to see, Start over. Quote, we were surprised to see that the chemtrails are as bad here as they are anywhere, both in Mallorca and in Barcelona. That's the proper pronunciation. Barcelona. Barcelona. Add Sweden to the list. A Swedish resident wrote after spotting 8 to 10 parallel contrails. I know the commercial routes, and we have a bunch of them, but not where these trails were. Next, chemtrail activity has been reported in at least 14 allied nations, including Australia, Belgium, Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Sigil, Holland, Ireland, Italy, New Zealand, Scotland, Sweden, and the United States, bro.
United States. So, again, like, that's, to me, it's just how, like, a conspiracy can gain traction, whether or not there's something behind this or not. It would be, it'd be one thing if it was, like, just in the USA, but it seems, again, to be in multiple countries. They're all allies of the United States. So, to me, I wonder if they're all either, like, U.S. contracted or if they're done through their own system. Just stuff I just don't know.
I mean, if this is really happening, then big oil would have to be behind it.
Think so?
Yeah, I mean, why else would you need to do this? If you just stop using fossil fuels, the planet, I mean, theoretically, no fossil fuels, the planet can repair itself.
Sure.
Like the ozone layer and everything, like it can just repair itself. Like that's the theory, right?
Right.
Speaking of, Governor of California has put a 15-year time limit on pure gas cars.
Nice.
In 15
What's the time
years,
limit to get people to stop pooping in the streets?
Yep.
What's the timeline on that?
Well, New York just finally passed that law. Can't poop on the subway.
Dude. Gotta, get your priorities straight. You can't just be like, we're gonna get rid of fucking gas cars, but people are still shitting in the streets and dropping their drugs.
In 15 years, no one can sell a car that runs entirely on gas. It has to be at least a hybrid.
At least a hybrid,
yep.
Huh? Interesting.
Right. Yeah. All right, so another scary scenario, shall we? All right. According to the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado, the only way to form artificial clouds in warm, dry air is to introduce enough particulates into the atmosphere to attract and accrete all available moisture into visible vapor. If repeated often enough, the resulting rainless haze can lead to drought.
Yeah, that's dude. Weather engineering is creepy to me, and like as a person who's not religious, it feels like we're playing God where we aren't really welcome. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
I get what we're trying to do, and I get what's going on, but these you fucking with that again. You referenced the movie earlier. Fucking with the atmosphere could have irreversible consequences that we just don't know what's going to happen, and we could wipe ourselves out fucking around with that.
My biggest concern is the lack of openness. If this is what they're doing, my concern is the lack of openness about it, because
transparency, right?
Yes, like because without this transparency, this is what gives the conspiracy theories all this traction. Like, this is why we're talking about it, because like you take away from the science that is global warming by not being transparent on how you're trying to combat global warming.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like all of this shit that's happening with our planet right now, the fact that we've run out of names for fucking hurricanes and we're already almost halfway through the Greek alphabet by the time this fucking airs, right? Like alpha, beta, whatever, chimera, stupid fucking Greek letters. All because of global warming, right? Our planet is mad at us, and it's changing the way the weather patterns behave. But the problem is that because there's a lack of transparency, if this is what's going on, these chemtrail conspiracy theorists are going, well, look at the chemtrails, bro. You're affecting the atmosphere. Of course this shit's going to happen. It has nothing to do with global warming. You're just fucking experimenting with the weather, and it's causing all of this shit. And it's like, that's not true, but
that's how it gets its legs.
But that's how it gets its legs, and it's like you partially can't blame these people who are conspiracy theorists for drawing that conclusion. You know what I mean? Like, because of there's no transparency. And again, that's if that's what's going on. I still am of the belief system that the government is not out to try and control us by using particulates and chemtrails and the mark of the beast and the injection for COVID-19. It's going to have some nano tracker particles. And because I've never used a cell phone before, evidently, and my fucking location settings are always on. Idiots. Anyway, Patrick Minnis, an atmospheric researcher with California Environmental Resource Evaluation System, or CERES, an ardent chemtrails critic, and NASA's Langley Research Center, reports that cirrus cloud cover over the U.S. is up 5% overall, because particulates in engine exhaust are acting as cloud-forming nuclei. As the number of flights currently exceeds 15 million annually worldwide, artificial clouds will intensify as air travel continues to climb.
Okay, that's interesting.
Now, with that said, I would like to see the 2020 numbers and chemtrails and all that stuff for 2020, because air travel has been significantly reduced for a good portion of the year.
That's true. That's very, very true.
So I would like to see the correlation or lack thereof. Now, there is something happening that helps provide substance to these theories. There are active experiments being conducted that fit into this world.
Okay.
That's just the thing that's happening. The Keith Group in Massachusetts, for example.
Wait. Massachusetts?
In Massachusetts.
Throw it out. It's trash. Throw it out. It's trash.
They're associated with.
I don't give a shit.
They're associated with Harvard University.
I don't give a fuck. Trash. Throw it out.
Literally one of the top 3 most prestigious colleges in the country.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Listen, I'll give it to them, but it doesn't change how I feel about Massachusetts.
That's fair. You can hate Massachusetts.
I do hate Massachusetts.
That's okay.
I can, and I actively do hate Massachusetts.
And that is completely okay.
I like, my lord, dude.
I love Boston,
used,
though.
used,
Boston's a great
used,
city.
used to live on the border of Massachusetts, right? I used to live right on the border. I lived in New Hampshire. One town south of me was Massachusetts. And I was kind of like, yeah, whatever, Massachusetts, it's fine. Dude, now that I live an hour and a half away from that border, I just like anytime I have to go to Massachusetts, I'm just like, fuck that. I'd rather just fucking go somewhere else than Massachusetts anytime. I went to visit a friend who lived in Massachusetts last weekend, and the entire time driving through Massachusetts, because he lives in southern Mass, like on the Connecticut border, and the entire time driving through Massachusetts, I'm just like, I fucking hate this place. I fucking hate everything about Mass. Like, look at the fucking road. The fucking road sucks. Like, dude, like every little thing that I could get mad at, I got mad at Massachusetts, dude. I was just like, look at the trees. The trees look like shit in Mass. It's fucking Mass. Anyway, sorry. Complete side tear, dude.
Seriously. It's okay. So we've established Chris Berry, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Berry hates Massachusetts.
I hate Massachusetts.
But anyway.
And listen, if you live there and love it, that's fine. That's my one asshole's opinion on the
Crispy
internet.
OMG on Instagram. _ OMG on Instagram.
Yes, that'd be your hate.
Yes. Now, with that said, the Keith Group in Massachusetts, for example, works on theoretical proposals for combating global warming called solar geoengineering or albedo modification. These are technologies that might enable people to add materials to the Earth's atmosphere to reflect a bit more sunlight back to space, partially masking or reducing the climate change due to accumulated greenhouse gases. That sounds a lot like chemtrails.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, ultimately, I want to talk about this for a minute. Hold on. Before we go, right? Because it does. It sounds a whole lot like just chemtrails. And that sounds a whole lot like the conspiracies we've just been talking about, right? This is an experiment that's happening.
Well, the one from fucking what did you say it was from? Hold on, I'm going back from 1994.
The patent.
The patent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that whole thing, of course, also sounds like chemtrails, but just not in the aspect that people are like bad chemtrails, like controlling everyone's mind and making it livable for aliens.
And again, like I wish I had a button for like a horse neighing because I'm just going to keep beating a dead horse, but I have this instead.
Huh? Please. Oh, come on. You cut that out.
I'm sorry. I'll use the other one. Now, I hate to keep beating a dead horse.
Okay.
But if it was just conspiracies on the lack of transparency from the government with regards to experiments on trying to combat climate change that are ultimately causing health problems. If that was the conspiracy and that was it,
sure,
this conspiracy theory would probably hold a lot more water.
Because of the water particles in the plane, in the air?
Yeah, it's the fucking joke.
That's
You're
the
welcome.
joke.
You're welcome.
That's it, yeah.
If that was where it was limited to, then yes, I believe that would probably have a lot more substance to it.
Sure.
The problem is that most of these assholes are, and by assholes I mean people who believe in chemtrails, like Alex Jones. Most of these idiots, assholes, stupid people with no... And I just keep going. Flat earthers. Let's just call them flat earthers because those are the dregs of society, right?
Yep.
They don't believe in global warming.
Right.
Because it can't be a thing. A, for flat earthers, because there's no such thing as a globe. So how can you have global warming if there's no globe? And for the people, the few, the subset that don't believe both chemtrails and flat earth, they are probably Trump supporters, so they don't believe in global warming anyway. So that is where the huge disconnect comes.
Of course.
It drives me nuts.
Yeah, no, I feel it. And, for me, when it comes to chemtrails, I've heard it all, right? I go on stupid parts of the internet and I listen to everyone's goofy conspiracy and what they think is going on. And I've seen from mind control, I've seen from trying to control, people's moods. And I guess that could just kind of be summed up into mind control as well.
Yeah.
To slowly poisoning people, giving us cancer. And then I've seen the ones where it's the conspiracy behind chemtrail is to make the atmosphere livable for off-world aliens who walk among us. It expands.
God, with the fucking lizard people? Are you on lizard people now?
No, well, I mean, sure.
Those are extraterrestrials, right? The lizard people, we were talking about that.
It could be the Nordic aliens. It could be the gray aliens. It could be whatever,
are you
dude.
kidding me?
Yeah, dude, but that's how far it spans out. Now, I'm going to go on record and say I think that stuff is, it's pretty crazy. There's not a whole lot to back it up. However, again, like you were saying, if it comes down to they're trying to geoengineer the Earth, trying to hush fix up global warming, not really being very transparent with the people, and people are getting sick and they're hurting or whatever.
Right.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Right. It's far more believable than the rest of the crap.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's for the aliens. I don't think it's for mind control.
That's fucking stupid.
Dude, that is legit.
And I want to.
That is legit though.
I want to sum that up too, right? So like ultimately, as with most conspiracies and their believers, there is one underlying issue that makes it impossible to have a conversation on this topic. People who believe in this conspiracy think that the government has their own agenda and should be to blame for many health issues in America. But ultimately, these people are misinformed. When scientists try to disprove their beliefs, their explanation is ultimately considered just part of the cover-up, which is a huge problem. And the evidence that's presented for chemtrails don't have any strong evidence that actually explains it. And the belief of chemical spraying would mean that thousands of people would be sworn to secrecy, like pilots, delivery men, aircraft maintenance, etc., and that not one person has leaked the truth.
So, I gotta play devil's advocate on that, right?
Go ahead.
Or else it wouldn't be mystery in our history if I didn't play devil's advocate.
Please, Chris, play devil's advocate.
All right, so here we go. So I'm gonna feed into this. So NDAs exist, and we all know that there have been proven covered up conspiracies that have come forth.
Yeah.
And I am going to use MK Ultra as the example.
Okay.
That is something that was a conspiracy. That was something that people were like, no, it's happening. And the government's just like, it ain't happening. What the fuck you talking? It's not happening.
Can you re-enlighten the people at home as to what MK Ultra is?
MK Ultra basically is a mind control device where they were using different methods of either sleep deprivation, abuse, drugs, basically messing with your mind mentally to basically it depends on what you're reading into, but
make you their
basically
bitch.
It would be like
they were trying to make you their bitch.
Right. So you'd hear a keyword, you'd wake up and you go, okay, I've been hypnotized to do this, to do that, or whatever.
Kind of like the Winter Soldier.
Exactly like the Winter Soldier. That's pretty much what it is. So here's the thing with MK Ultra. There were multiple agencies involved. There was the Office of Science Intelligence, United States Army Biological Warfare Laboratories. Project Bluebird was involved. Project Artichoke was involved, and research undertaken at more than 80 different institutions, including colleges, universities, hospitals, prisons, pharmaceutical companies. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm like, you can't just say people are sworn to secrecy and then that's it. There's no way that this can evolve because the MK Ultra, it started in 1953 and we didn't find out about it. We didn't even start to see a glimpse of the truth until 1977 when Congress looked into it. And that was, 24 years later. Now, I know this is longer than 24 years,
This
obviously.
is exactly 24 years, actually. 1996 to 2020.
Holy shit.
1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. -1, that's 3 quick maths.
But, so again, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think it's completely possible that it could be covered up. Because again, a lot of these conspiracies, it's not just the person leaking who's at stake and is at danger. It's their family. It's their loved ones, close ones. It's the stakes are high for these top secret things. And if they get leaked.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but also remember when we discussed the moon landing, or lack thereof,
Sure.
how a large number of people would have had to known about the original faking to begin with. And that would result in hundreds or thousands of people knowing about it, and none of them speaking, hundreds or thousands of people knowing about it, and none of them speaking up about it. Now, granted, this is a different scenario in a very specific way, right? The moon landing was essentially, if it never happened, that would have been two areas: where they were filming it and mission control.
Correct.
Right? No one else is in on it. Everybody that's in on it is in one of those two areas.
Yep.
And what you're discussing here with MK Ultra, and potentially what we're discussing with chemtrails, is that it's kind of been divided up into so many different subsets that no one really knows what this particular thing is for until you combine them all together, and nobody actually knew to combine them all together except for the very few people that were combining them all together.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying. I don't believe that there could be this many people in on it. And because even with MK Ultra, right? So like all of a sudden, okay, now all of this stuff is involved, and not one of those people, if one of those people like tries to, or just has the brainwidth to put anything together, put two and two together anywhere, like what's to keep them from coming out? You know what I mean? Because they're not going to be like, they're going to say it's super classified, but then look at Snowden, and we'll get that in a minute.
Right.
But
although
before we continue, I do want to say that, in regards to the moon landing, I think China is like about to visit that landing site. From what I understand, they're like going back to the moon. So that conspiracy might just get debunked pretty soon anyway.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I would like to know either way. Like, if the flag is really on the moon, cool. Like, I was wrong. And if it isn't, cool. The moon landing's a lie. But either way, it's not really going to change my day-to-day life, honestly.
No.
I would
It's going to change a lot of people's day-to-day life, though.
Sure. But, again, I want to know the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And everybody that believes that the moon landing was fake is just going to say that this was doctored photos. Like, China's going to go to the moon. Oh, they're not really going to the moon. It's another fake thing to shut us up.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. But
there's a lot of weird China hate right now going on. And
I mean, for me, it's just improbable that a large number of people know about this and no one has come forward.
Again, I still disagree on this. The threat of death or the threat of the loved ones, or, in something as in the case of like the moon landing, like you said, there's two factors that know. It's the film crew, and then there's mission control. But if they sit there and the 20 to 30 people on each side are sealed lips, and then they tell everyone else at NASA, no, it happened. Look at the footage. It's right there.
Yeah.
It happened. Then the lie just cultivates from there and becomes true.
But I feel like then there's a lot of math that exists that isn't really like real. It isn't real. You know what I mean? Like, because it took math to get us to the moon, right? Like, they had to come up with the equations and figure it out and make it work. And if it didn't work, then all of that math is not accurate. Like, you know what I mean? And space travel isn't.
It's all lost, though, right? And we've never been back. It's all lost, right?
Well, all right, so.
It just keeps going in circles. It just keeps going in circles.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Right. You're absolutely right.
It's unfortunate, and that's why there's so many disbelievers on this stuff.
Well, let's talk about this too, because in addition to all of this that we've just been talking about, former CIA employee and whistleblower Edward Snowden interviewed on the Joe Rogan Experience, which is hands down like the #1 podcast ever, period, just in existence. like rated. I mean, not just like enjoyed. I mean, like more people listen to that than any other podcast out there. Whether or not you like it is a different story. I personally can't really sit through 3 hours at a clip for a podcast, but if you've got nothing else to do, like if you're in a job where you're driving a lot or whatever the case may be, I can see the appeal. And
I know a lot of people who listen.
I've seen a couple episodes, you know, depending on who the guest is, I find it very interesting. Joe Rogan is a very smart guy, educated guy, knows his shit. You know what I mean? So, like, he's a very good interviewer.
Sure.
But anyway, Edward Snowden, interviewed on the Joe Rogan Experience, stated that he had searched through all the secret information of the U.S. government for evidence about aliens and chemtrails. According to a CNN report about the webcast, he said, quote, "In case you were wondering, chemtrails are not a thing." And, quote, "I had ridiculous access to the networks of the NSA and CIA, the military, all these groups. I couldn't find anything."
Okay.
So I'm just going to leave that there. That's,
Yeah.
you know, that guy had no reason to lie. He was trying to fucking get shit out.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, my only argument, again, of course, I always have an argument for it, is that these are black ops things that are even, you know, further down than CIA and military and NSA.
Maybe.
But again, I don't have proof, you know, so I can't sit here and be like, that's fact, and I know. So.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Well, ultimately, I think that the biggest issue is that people who believe in conspiracy theories often have a hard time with Occam's razor, or when choosing a possible explanation for a phenomenon, the simplest one is usually the best.
Sure.
And if you think that aircraft contrails, quote, look different or are behaving strangely, consider that regular aircraft condensation trails are sometimes long-lasting, and the way they look can change suddenly along a flight path as aircraft fly through regions with different temperatures and humidity. This is well understood and has been demonstrated by group observation and by scientific research performed by thousands of people over decades. Of course, it's possible that something else is going on. But to prove it, one is just going to need more than simple photographs of something that looks entirely consistent with normal contrails. Is that fair? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think...
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not out of the realm of possibility that contrails or chemtrails might exist, but I'm going to need a lot more proof than just, that looks funny.
Yeah, that looks funny, and I feel weird looking at it. I get it. Yeah.
That's all. I mean, you know, there's been a little bit of correlation, if you will, and that's what we talked about. But, like, you're going to need a smoking gun.
Right.
With
something
something
that comes
like
out
this.
that is just like, this is undeniable.
Exactly. You need a smoking gun. You need the flight manifest for the planes that were going over that area in Canada, saying that they were loaded with aluminum in particulates in the fuel or in the jet so that it would spread into the atmosphere. Like, you need that. That's the smoking gun. Not just chemtrail, people got sick. It's not enough.
Yeah.
It's
fair.
rain has high aluminum, people got sick. Okay, where'd the aluminum come from? Where's the smoking gun?
Right. No, I agree. I do agree with that.
Well, that's how we're going to wrap up this time on the Mystery in Our History podcast. But be sure to check us out on our website, fourguysmedia.com, for news, updates, and a list of all of our other podcasts. Excuse me. I'm so gassy. I do just want to cross-promote because it came out today that we're recording this. But this is probably going to come out in a week or 2 weeks from now. Mike's Mini History Lessons. Its most recent episode as of today is an episode on mass incarcerations in America. It is about double or 4 times longer than most of the history lessons. It is not mini. It is a not so mini history lesson, but needed to be as long as it was because of the amount of information that it entails when talking about this topic. And I really just would encourage all of our listeners to really check this out. Systemic racism is a huge problem in this country. and it's has a lot to do with the reason why a third of the 2 million prisoners that exist in the United States are black. But there's also a boatload more that goes into this than just prisons are privatized, and that's why you have so many inmates. It's so much deeper than all of that. So I would really just want to point that out and point people in that direction to really educate themselves on that topic.
Good listen.
Yeah,
I listened to it today, and I found it extremely informative.
Yep,
There's a lot in there that
I
I
really
didn't know.
enjoyed doing that episode. It was, of all the episodes that I've done on Mike's Mini History Lessons, I've enjoyed a lot of them. That was by far my favorite one to do. But don't worry that there will not be a lot of 20-minute, not so many history lessons. But anyway, that is it for this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye.